That night, Amara sat in her room staring at the cell phone, but still, there was no call from its owner. She thought about telling May, who might help her take it to the police so they could find the rightful owner. As she sat there lost in thought, her alarm suddenly went off. It was time for her usual routine of watching the mysterious man from across her bedroom window. She quietly got up, walked to the window, and peered through the curtain. But this time he wasn't there. She waited a few more minutes, hoping he would appear, but there was still no sign of him. Sighing, she decided she might as well take the cell phone to May and explain everything. She was just about to leave her room when the phone in her hand suddenly rang. Startled, she quickly answered. On the other end, a young man greeted her and explained that he was the owner of the cell phone. Amara felt a wave of relief as she told him he had left it at the park and that she still had it with her. The young man asked where she lived so he could come and collect it. Amara hesitated, worried that being seen with a random guy outside the house late at night might raise questions or suspicions. Sensing her hesitation, the young man suggested they could meet at a small park nearby, within the same neighborhood. Amara hesitated again, but eventually agreed. After hanging up, she grabbed the phone and made her way downstairs, where James and May were sitting together watching TV. James looked up and commented on how she had finally come out of her room, asking where she was headed at that hour. Amara explained that she was feeling a little overwhelmed and wanted to clear her mind with a short walk around the neighborhood. James frowned slightly, pointing out that it was already late, but May interrupted gently, assuring him that it was fine. She reminded Amara that the neighborhood was safe and had security patrolling at night. She told her not to go too far and to come back soon. Amara nodded with a reassuring smile before stepping out into the cool night. She made her way through the quiet neighborhood and into the nearby park. The soft glow of the lights and the calm night breeze wrapped around her. She noticed a few couples sitting together on benches, whispering and laughing softly under the night sky. Amara walked deeper into the park, scanning her surroundings for the young man. Just then, the phone rang again. She answered, and the young man gave her directions to where he was waiting. She followed them carefully, her heart beating just a little faster. Finally, she saw him sitting on a bench with another young man by his side. Amara's steps slowed as she approached them, her eyes shifting between the two figures. Her gaze immediately recognized the guy sitting next to him. It was the same young man she always watched from across her bedroom window. He sat there quietly, his sharp eyes fixed on her with an unreadable expression. A strange mix of curiosity and nerves filled her chest as she stopped in front of them, holding the cell phone tightly in her hand, looking at him just to make sure it really was him, even though she had only ever seen him from afar. Something deep inside her confirmed it was indeed him. He carried the same aura, the same dark and intimidating presence that made her instinctively break eye contact and glance away. The young man from the park stood up and walked over to her with a grateful smile, clearly relieved that his lost phone had been found. Amara explained that she had tried to look for him that day, but he was already gone. She handed him the phone, which he took gratefully, then thanked her again for her honesty and effort. He complimented her Chinese, saying it was surprisingly good, and Amara replied with a shy smile, explaining that she had studied it as a minor at school, which was why she could speak it fairly well. He encouraged her to keep practicing, adding that she would be excellent in no time. After thanking her again for bringing the phone all the way back to him, he looked at her kindly. Amara smiled back, but her eyes shifted once more toward the other young man, Leewi, who sat watching her with that same unreadable, intimidating expression. Feeling her heart race with a mix of curiosity and discomfort, Amara quickly said her goodbyes and turned to walk away, determined not to look back over her shoulder. The guy who owned the phone sat back down next to Leewi, glancing at him and asking him if he knew the girl who had just brought the cell phone. Leewi did not answer immediately, still watching the path Amara had just walked down. Finally answering, Leewi simply shook his head, saying he did not. Turning back to his friend, he asked what he really wanted to talk about. His friend let out a small sigh and told him bluntly that ever since he had returned, he had not bothered to reach out to him or any of their old friends. He said he understood that Leewi had been away for 10 long years and might need time to adjust, but disappearing into isolation and staying silent wasn't fair to anyone who cared about him. Leewi brushed him off, explaining that he had been busy and had important matters to deal with, but he promised that when he found time, he would meet up with everyone again. His friend's tone grew more serious as he pressed on, asking if Leewi had talked to Jan yet. At the mention of that name, Leewi's expression hardened, and he fell silent. His friend, reading his reaction, knew the answer was no. He spoke with frustration, telling Leewi that he was being unfair to Jan. She had waited for him faithfully for 10 years, never entertaining anyone else, never moving on. She had stayed loyal through years of not hearing from him, not knowing where he was or whether he would ever come back. And now he was back and ignoring her completely. Leewi looked away, his voice cold as he reminded his friend that before he left, he had told Jan not to wait for him, so it wasn't his fault she had chosen to do so anyway. His friend ran a hand through his hair, growing more agitated, telling Leewi that he knew exactly what kind of person Jan was, stubborn, loyal, and unwavering, no matter what he told her. He urged Leewi to at least call her or see her face to face, because ignoring her only hurt her more deeply. He reminded Leewi that not many people in this world would wait 10 years for someone without a word, and that Jan truly loved him in a way few ever could. Leewi let out a cold laugh, his eyes distant, and told him that the word love meant nothing to him anymore. To him, love had died 10 years ago when he was 16, and lost his entire family in an instant. He warned his friend never to bring up that word again. With that, he stood up abruptly, and his friend rose too, determined not to let the conversation end there. He told Leewi he knew what he had gone through was beyond painful, an experience no one should ever have to endure, but he shouldn't let it turn him into something cold and unrecognizable. He reminded Leewi that the friend they knew back then was lively and full of warmth for the people he cared about. Leewi stared at him with a cold, hardened expression and told him that the Leewi they had once known was buried 10 years ago along with his family, and that the man standing there now was who he truly was. He added that he would find a way to speak with Jan eventually, and would reach out to his friends when he finished what he had to do. Without another word, Leewi turned and walked away into the night, leaving his friend standing by the bench, watching him disappear into the darkness, wondering if they would ever get the old Leewi back. Amara walked through the quiet neighborhood, her mind racing with thoughts about the guy from the park. She wondered if it had truly been him, the same guy she had been secretly watching from her window. Though she had always observed him from afar, something deep inside her told her it was him. A wave of panic washed over her as she wondered if he had realized she had been spying. The way he had stared at her at the park made her uneasy and uncomfortable, the kind of look that said more than words ever could. She glanced at her phone to check the time just as she heard footsteps behind her. Turning slightly, she saw him, Leewi, the guy from the window, walking a few steps behind her. Her heart began to pound wildly as fear wrapped itself around her. She wondered if he had followed her intentionally, each step echoing her rising dread. She picked up her pace, desperately hoping to reach home before he could catch up. But the footsteps behind her grew closer and faster. Just as she thought of breaking into a run, she felt a strong hand grab her arm, pulling her roughly to the side and pressing her against the wall.